Hey, Tigers, I hope you're keeping safe and well. Guys, today you have me bringing you the case of Joseph Fritzl. We decided to do extra research, but then on top of that, Holly has fallen poorly, guys. She's caught a bug, so she's like, throwing up. Will you do me a favour though, Holly? Will you get me a colander and strain meat lumpy bits? I want to make Scottish stew. Anyway, guys, I just want to say, show this channel and Holly some love by smashing that subscribe button in the face with that daily notification armor. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, guys. It's all engagement and feedback for us here. And I just want to say thank you so much for all your support. But please do check out that members bit, guys. OMG. OMG. Chef's Kiss perks. Guys, you get to come and game with us. But guys, I just want to say thank you ever so much. And Holly, this is in dedication to you. I know you're under a lot of stress and you've caught a bug. So I just want to say I hope you get well soon, chick. And let's roll that intro. So guys, let's crack this off with a trigger warning. Guys, please be careful. If you do not want to watch something quite as gruesome as this is going to be, then I'd advise you to check out another playlist on the channel. Otherwise, let's crack on, shall we? So guys, he's called Joseph Fritzl. On April the 9th, 1935 is when Mr. Fritzl was born. Now, Mr. Fritzl was born in Austria, Amstetten, to be precise. I don't know, you have to excuse my pronunciations, guys. I am learning German from one of our fellow CEOs, Chris. So, Chris, hopefully these pronunciations are right. If not, please do comment down below. Guys, he was a former electrician, was Mr. Fritzl, and well, I wouldn't like him wiring up my house, especially nowadays after what he's been up to. My gosh, I wouldn't even leave him alone in my house. Let's talk about roughly what he's done. So he's classed as a serial rapist and an unconfirmed killer. Now, there's been a bit of hoo-ha about part of this case, one of his victims, which we'll delve more into later on, guys. His favourite method of torture, let's put it that way, was rape. That's a terrible thing. Absolutely terrible thing to happen to anybody. And I'm not going to give you my personal beliefs on what should have happened to Mr. Fritzl, because that would be then too graphic and I'd get demonetized. Anyway, that being said, like I said, he was an electrician and this helped him later on to build the dungeon. So, right guys, there's been roughly 4 victims of Mr. Fritzl's. There was 1 killed, 2 rape, and 1 attempted rape. Now, the time period for the crimes, they ranged between 19th of April 1967 to 2008. This is when all got revealed, when one of his victims escaped. The criminal charges he has got are incest, coercion, false imprisonment, neglect, enslavement, and homicide. Basically, he committed a murder. Guys, but rest assured, he's banged up for life. But let's go further into more detail about the imprisonment and the basement. So on April the 20th, 2008, Mr. Fritzl was apprehended by the local law enforcement. This was because he didn't kind of build the dungeon correctly, in a way where it would keep his secret safe and secure in his mind. So his little encapsulment ran away, sought help, and now he's incarcerated, and he will be for the rest of his life, which really should be cut short in my eyes for what he's done. And I'm sure if you guys agree at the end of this, you'll realise that just how bad it was, and that more should have happened to him. My God, if he was in the States, he'd be gone by now. Electric chair, lethal injection. Fritzl was born in Amstetten, Austria. At this time of the 20th century, Austria was under Nazi control. Considering it was, like, 1935, guys, it was under Nazi control. So I can imagine things back then were tough. Very tough indeed. But guys, at 4 years old, Joseph Fritzl abandoned not only him, but his whole family. Now, this didn't set good precedence for Joseph Fritzl in later life. This is because he had no father figure to not only discipline but care and nurture not only him but the rest of his family as well. Joseph Fritzl's father obviously left them when Joseph was 4 years old, but he actually died within the war, serving for his country. This left Joseph Fritzl to be raised by his mother, who used to beat him regularly. Now, I get that some people might smack the child's bum or give him a clip right here or something like that. Just something, to bring them out of whatever they're doing. Now, I get that. I totally get that. Perfectly fine. That's your choice. But to sit there and physically abuse a child repeatedly over and over again when that child is only 4 years old and cannot even defend himself. Also, in a town, village, city, I don't know which one it is, called Linz in Austria, it was said that he committed his first crime. In 1967, he raped a woman, was fully reported for it, but after 15 years, that case was dropped from his file. So his public file where, your criminal record, it was dropped after 15 years. Now, if I was the person in charge of if they drop and what length of time, it would be on for life. Mr. Fritzl, guys, was also a suspect of another rape or two within his area, that area at the time in 1967. Also, guys, he decided to keep it in the family. So, sweet home Alabama. How can I put this? He's supposed to have raped one of his sisters. After looking further into detail, it looks like that is the case, guys. Let's get cracking about his family that he produced. One of his children, called Elizabeth, is going to be the main focal point, guys, for this case. Elizabeth, in 1983, guys, ran away from home. She was found within a month, guys, and returned back to her family. So, guys, below the house in Amstetten, to prevent Elizabeth from running away at any point here on in the future, he commenced work under the house, building the basement, the dungeon, the prison cell. So, not long after his first rape of Elizabeth in 1978, this is when roughly the construction started for the underneath bit of the house. This dungeon, let me give you a bit more information. It had no windows, so it had electrical lighting, electricity, electronic locks on the door as well, guys. So, because by trade he is an electrician, he decided to install electric locks, just to make sure Elizabeth would not escape. On August the 24th, 1984, he lured Elizabeth down into the basement by asking for her help to put on a door. He then got an ether-soaked towel, proceeded to drug her, to capture her and keep her down there. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about ether. It doesn't work immediately. It's potent when it gets going, definitely gets potent, but it's an anesthetic, guys. You are going to be out cold, completely KO'd out. So poor Elizabeth was then drugged and locked up. The cell, or the dungeon, whichever you guys want to call it, is pretty much basically the same. In this instance was 15 foot by 15 foot. Like, how can you expect to even live in a 15 foot by 15 foot space and nobody notice? It's like, what happened to all the sounds, the bumps, the thuds, any movement? Surely his wife would notice. This is what I was looking through, guys. I was looking for the evidence side from his wife and her thoughts and opinions of it as well. But unfortunately, guys, she was also coerced into thinking that Elizabeth had run away, and if they actually went after her, she would then leave the country further still. Now this is bogus. She didn't want to write this. This is all in Joseph Fritzl's head, and he put that plan to work. Just think, guys, you're stuck in a 15 foot by 15 foot square room, and for over not one but 2 decades you are there, never seeing the light of day, never seeing a sky, never smelling freshly cut grass or fresh linen for 2 decades. Guys, during the first year, roughly a year of Elizabeth being downstairs, she was actually restrained by Mr. Fritzl, her own father. So Joseph went down and restrained her just to make sure, doubly sure, she would not make any sounds or anything. But after a year, he decided then to let her walk around the cell freely. And, well, 15 square foot by 15 is really, really, really not much of a big space to walk around at all. So in Brunel there was a letter that was postmarked from there, actually in his wife's handwriting. Mr. Fritzl forced his wife, after she filed a missing persons report on her own daughter Elizabeth, he then forced her to write a letter basically saying that she fled home and that she'd gone to a friend's house, and basically not to look for her, otherwise she'd carry on going further, she'd leave that country. Guys, every 3 days Mr. Fritzl would come down during this 24-year roughly, every 3 days to come down, feed her, to clean up, to give supplies, and to rape her. Over the following 24 years, after all the rape, she birthed 3 children very, very, very soon after her imprisonment. After the birth of them 3 children, he expanded. It turned out, which was basically about 380 square foot, I think it works out to be roughly. He expanded it, guys, to 590 square foot. Just to make doubly sure, guys, that nothing would make her be known of her whereabouts. There was hot plates, fridges, plug sockets, TVs, VCRs, all down there. Basically, her living her normal life, but with a side of trauma which completely took over that bit of her life. And it must have been very, very distressing for Elizabeth, especially having to make sure that her children kept quiet as well. So guys, in total, Elizabeth gave birth to 7 children, all from her father's rape. So guys, we have Kirsten, Stefan, Monica, Lisa, Alexander, and Michael and Felix. Guys, Alexander had a twin brother, Michael. Michael died after 3 days due to Joseph Fritzl's neglect. Weirdly enough, Monica, Alexander, and Lisa were portrayed by Joseph Fritzl to his wife as little hatchlings or little runaways, people that needed a good home and stuff like that. And so they took them on board. They were from the basement below the house, and they were his kids. He's a grandfather and a father to his son and grandson, all rolled into one. Just to make sure that Elizabeth and the other 4 children that was kept down there, to make sure they weren't seen, to make sure they weren't heard, if they tried to attempt to leave, Joseph Fritzl told them they'd be gassed and electrocuted as soon as they turned the knob on the door. Let's bring you guys forward to April the 19th, 2008, when one of his children, the eldest, born in 1988, called Kirsten, collapsed. So guys, after Kirsten collapsed in the dungeon, Joseph Fritzl then admitted her to a hospital, where it was found out that she developed quite a severe kidney infection. Guys, this brings us on to questions that the medical field asked in regards to the mother of the child. Now, he postmarked a letter that basically said Elizabeth had run away and joined a cult, and he provided as proof this letter, and it was postmarked from Carmarthen. Basically, he posted it to himself and then used that as proof for authorities and local agencies that he needed support from. A week later, guys, Elizabeth persuaded Joseph Fritzl to let her go to the hospital to see their eldest child, Kirsten. A doctor, though, saw the state of Elizabeth and tipped off the police. At which point, guys, Kirsten and Elizabeth were detained for their own safety. After being promised, profusely being promised, that she would not see her father again, Elizabeth opened up during that detainee session and basically told them exactly what had happened all these times, all them years, so many occurrences. Shortly after midnight, guys, on the following day, Joseph Fritzl was arrested for his crimes after a very lengthy discussion whilst being detained for their own safety. So the police went out and arrested him the very next day. So guys, in March 2009, so 13 years ago now, guys, this happened 13 years ago. So yes, March 2009, he was put on trial for rape, incest, coercion, homicide, neglect, enslavement, imprisonment, endangerment. So all those he got charged with and went to court for. The reason why, guys, he has a neglect and homicide is because of the twin, Michael, that died after just 3 days of being born. And like I said before, that was Alex's twin. He pleaded guilty, guys, to all of his charges on every single count. During his trial, guys, he expressed how it affected him mentally, physically and emotionally, and what he'd done to his own family. This is the point, guys, when some cogs started ticking and he realised the major fuck-ups he did in his life. So, guys, his daughter, his son stroke grandson, all rolled into one, have slowly but surely, through therapy, started to readjust to how life should actually be and how to act and behave, because don't forget they were imprisoned for so long, guys. Like, you wouldn't know how to conduct a conversation properly between two people and make sure the conversation's structured, for instance, as well, and correct terminology, grammar and diction, things like that. They would have had to relearn because, well, Elizabeth wouldn't be able to teach them that much in that area, in that environment. Guys, where they were kept captive has been now filled in with cement. And they say on the grapevine that Elizabeth has romantic relations with her bodyguard that is there to also protect her against anybody else that's basically like that, and to protect her from all the people that didn't believe the case, for instance, or completely shocked they didn't think anything like that of Joseph Fritzl. Comment, guys, what would you do? How would you try and escape? You know, you're sat or restrained in a 15-foot by 15-foot room. How would you escape? What would you even do? How are the toiletry needs met? The laundry needs, for instance. I know, like you said, every 3 days it drops off supplies, but comment down below, how would you get out of there? Would you risk getting electrocuted or gassed? I would. I definitely would. It's a risk that you have to take. You either die in the basement or risk getting caught escaping. I believe in karma. I don't know about you guys, but I can safely say karma has not swung her hammer and fully hit him yet, let me tell you. And I hope and pray to God that his kids are safe and well, all of them, and his grandkids stroke kid is safe as well, all of them. Unfortunately, obviously, we know about Michael. He died. He had 3 days of life. And I can't imagine them 3 days were the best 3 days of his life. Let's talk about some of his victims. So, we have an unknown victim, guys. I can't give you the exact dates, but in 1967 in Linz, at knife point, he raped a woman. There was also, guys, a 21-year-old woman, not named. He tried to do an attempted rape of her, and she escaped. She actually escaped. And I bet she's so thankful of that. Just that escape has probably saved her life, guys. Like, oh my gosh. Don't forget, guys, in August the 28th, 1984, was his main victim, Elizabeth, his own daughter. There was rape, incest, false imprisonment. His other victim was his own son/grandson, and that was Michael. That was another victim that unfortunately died. That was due to neglect. So guys, tell me what you think about this case in the comments box below, whilst checking out that Linktree link in the description box as well, guys. I want to know what you think about Mr. Fritzl. Now you see, I could post exactly what I think about Mr. Fritzl, but I'd get demonetized. Like hell, they'd receive a lot of complaints if I spoke my mind. Guys, that's it, I'm afraid, but thank you ever so much for joining us for True Crime Tuesday and the case of Joseph Fritzl. Now, we still haven't really answered that question. Did he or did he not get planning permission for that basement? I've been trying to look at records, guys. This is why it's taken so long. But unfortunately, we still can't bring you the full details of that little bit, that question, that one important question, guys. Anyway, show your support for Holly and for this channel by hitting that subscribe button in the face. Oh yeah, with that daily notification alarm bell. Give me a thumbs up, guys, or a thumbs down. It's engagement and feedback for me. I want to make sure I am bringing you some brilliant content every time. So hit the comments box down below and click on the Linktree link in the description box, guys. It will give you all basic access to TIEG on all the social media platforms. Guys, also check out that members bit. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've got to say it again. It is absolutely brilliant, guys. Absolutely brilliant. Chef's kiss perks. Indeed. Anyway, guys, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And next week we have Holly, hopefully, if she is better. She will be bringing you a very tasty treat. Thank you ever so much, guys. Be safe out there. Ciao for now.